he said that's the most excruciating, painful, yet the most liberating. The talking to yourself and getting to know you is going to be a great journey. So you reminded me of that. So let's go to the other question. Um, and this is that's why I share with you before, like, Shanti, can we talk a little bit about cults? We're not going to do a cultish thing or an assessment of who is leading a cult or not.
No.
But I got a lot of questions about it, and I have a couple of friends experiencing things that they're labeling as a cult. But the first question was, Yvonne and Shanti, I'm in a group, listen to this. I'm in a group that I do not know if it's a cult or not. My friends keep telling me that I'm in a cult. However, I do not know if it's their projection, if it's my situation. What I do notice, I have been studying now in this group endlessly. No matter what I do, it seems to me the leaders of the group, and she didn't mention them purposefully, the leaders of the group tell me that I need to do more to be more consistently. I've been 17 years in this group, and I am never ever seems that I'm going to graduate. The only thing that I can find that this group may be cultish is that in order for me to stay here and remain in this group, I had to give up things that I liked doing before. Like, for example, there's certain music that is not accepted in this group if I want to be in the elite group. There's places that I cannot visit. There's family that I cannot see or relate. So I'm not sure if there's a cult thing. Do you have any advice for me? I know my question is not defined, is really long, but I'm very shattered right now by the friends that had the courage to tell me, hey, you may be in a cult. What do you guys think?
Okay, well, first, it's like the idea, if we take the word cult out of it.
Yes.
And we talk about her personal agency and responsibility.
Yes.
And her personal liberation and freedom, then we can get somewhere. So if there's rules in the people around me of my ability to move in my life, to make choices for myself independently, including what music I listen to, which people I talk to, if there is a group around me telling me that I somehow controlling that, even if it's just from a socialized structure, this indoctrination of a conditioning, that's not for me personally, I consider myself a very liberated human being, even an interesting setting for me to be in. I don't want to be in relationship to people who tell me what I can and can't do and the choices that I can and cannot make. And if someone were to tell me, you're not there yet, you're not there yet, you're not there yet, I'm like, get where? I'm not where yet. And why do I have to do things I don't want to do and give up things I don't want to give up to get there? And why is there a special place that I'm left out of? That stuff begins to sound like someone else is trying to manipulate my behavior.
Yes.
And I understand that, like, she mentioned feeling shook. If you've been following the lines and doing the rules and propagating in that environment, and you find that environment doesn't actually have your personal well-being in mind and isn't actually on your side, it's a very shaking-like experience, especially if you think they care about you or there has been genuine connections within that group. It can be a very difficult thing to look at it. It's not about like you have to leave now and you're in danger. I don't know, but it's more about, is this the group of people that I can be my most real self with?
I love that. I love that, Shanti. I think that's it's a pointer. That's a very powerful guiding question. Is this the group of people that I can use that for? Is this the situation? Is this the business? Is this the relationship? I love that. I actually love that. I felt such an opening on my heart when you said that.
And
I
there's a
know.
totality to being human that includes all of the things that I feel and all of the things that I think in a responsible way. There's nothing in me that needs to be trodden upon in a group, as long as I'm being a responsible person and I'm not taking out my feelings, my emotions, or any of my behaviors on others, there's a wide breadth for freedom of expression.
Yes. Wow. Oh, what a great answer. To the person that asked, thank you for at least daring to begin to ask those
Yeah,
questions, right?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's go to the next questions. This is like the shanty, the big Q&A. And this is a question talking about cults because I don't know, Shanti, if I ever share with you, I used to be part of a group and not I did not stay long there. I studied with a course called Executive Success Programs that
Mhm.
was actually created. The organization was NXIVM, which the founder, Kid Rainier, was just put into jail by supposedly, he was recruiting, he used his business to hit a platform or a secret society that it was used to call DOS, in which women were branded and forced into sexual slavery. It was, I think Netflix just released a documentary about it, and this was really cultish, and it's interesting to me that this is coming through because I got to meet him, I got to meet Kid, I got to go through their executive success programs, but I did feel a little bit of the next question, which is actually it's a person that used to be in this group, and
Mhm.
I'm just naming it because they don't know I used to be in that group too. I
Mhm.
used to go to Albany and be there 15 days. I think I just did one training because something was off for me the
Mhm.
moment that they asked me to sign contracts, non-disclosure agreements in something that I was going to study for leadership and empowerment and a lot of things. So something fell off. But the question is, I heard the first podcast that you did with Shanti in English and Spanish. Thank you so much. She did tell us that she had that we could name her. My name is Mary Hernandez. I'm the mother of three beautiful kids, ages 30, 27, and 22. I'm also already a grandmother. And my question is I used to study in a group called NXIVM, led by Kid Rainier. I never realized that they were a cult. I was so surprised when it came in the news, all the things that we're doing. I never imagined that they were branding girls and that there was sexual slavery behind the scenes. And as a mother, grandmother, and as someone that aspires to be a citizen that cares, like Shanti says, I feel extreme guilt for not having noticed what was going on in the organization I was a student of. So anything that Shanti may see or advise me into, how can I actually contribute? How can I actually make any amends if I can? Or how could I have supported better or see? Is it that I didn't want to see, or what does she has to say about this for me?
Okay. First and foremost, the person responsible for the shitty things that you just described is the person who did it, not
Yeah.
people in the anybody who was compliant. And that means anybody who knew about it and did nothing. This sounds like this woman didn't know about it at all. So in that sense, did not directly contribute to any of that behavior.
Right.
And we are wired psychologically in our brain to believe what people tell us. Part of a structure of manipulation is that it counts on you feeling guilty or ashamed for information you did not have. And if you feel guilty and ashamed for information you did not have access to, you won't speak out. It makes you silent. So it sounds like there was already somewhere in the structure, even at the level that this woman was exposed to it, there was already a kind of manipulative tactics being used. There's really, if you didn't know, there's nothing you can do. But now that you do know, you could tell people if you wanted to, but you're not obligated to do that. Not at the distance that she has from it. It's not she, like, it's really weird how we'll take on the responsibility of something we know about when it was not our behavior, or we didn't contribute to that behavior. We just took part in a class or a course on the periphery of kind of the facade of this organization you just mentioned. She was on the outside facade, you know, that facade that just kind of the first hook, if you will, the first lure to lure people in, and didn't get closer. So she wouldn't have even been able to, most people would not be able to sniff out that there was something underneath. It's designed that way.
I was muted. I was really, really thinking about it. Yes, totally. Yes, it's designed that way, isn't it? And we don't know. But I love what you said. You know, the people responsible are the people that knew. You know,
Yeah.
when you know, like when I was there, when I was studying the executive success programs, which you know, the premise was to have people experience more joy in their lives. The whole premise, and I'm going to tell you, the program was actually pretty good. It was very similar to Landmark. You know, I
Mhm.
was there 15 days exhausted. You know, for some reason they did the programs in a way that I think I slept 3 hours.
Yeah, that's
Or
no, 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 that's already, they're trying to, yeah, it's not, that's a manipulative program.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You know, I slept 3 hours and they will call you. You know, I remember receiving a call at 1 a.m. Are you coming for volleyball at 4? I was like, I just arrived from the class and I will be there at 4. And that's when it felt off. But, you know,
Yeah.
I actually myself never noticed that because, you know, whatever my focus was different. But I did feel, Shanti,
Yeah.
something in me. I'm a freedom pursuer and I love for people to think on their own terms and be their
Mhm.
own teacher, their own guru. Something in me felt something off. So this
Yeah.
brings me to the
Somebody
next.
calling me at 1 in the morning and wanting me to be somewhere at 4 in the morning has lost
Yeah,
their damn
yeah.
mind.
And guess what? I did it, Shanti.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
it because I do have a shadow aspect of myself, or I don't know if I should,
No,
you know,
you're human. Look, humans
thank you.
are
I
humans.
love
The
you.
way we're wired is that
Yeah,
manipulation is easy to our psyche, and we're not at fault because of this. It's the person
right.
who manipulates that is the responsible party, not the person who's manipulated.
Yeah.
The person,
Thank
the
you.
person who manipulates is not harming anybody, or who is manipulated.
Yeah,
Let me say that really clearly. The
yeah, yeah.
person who is manipulated is not harming anyone. The person who is intentionally manipulating is manipulating with intent to harm. And there's a difference.
Right. Right. You know, and this brings me to now, I'm going to add a little bit of mine, you know, questions, because for me, thank you for that. And especially spirituality, there's this bias that I am responsible for everything. And for many years, Shanti, I have felt responsible. Even if you will throw a stone on a child's face and I'm far away, I will be like responsible. Something in me created that. A lot of, you know, so I had an aspect of me that it's such a devotee. It's such, I want to follow the teachings of my mentors. I want to honor them, that I have the human part, as you said now, you know, that I may miss these points. I may become more of a follower that rather, anyways, you know.
Well, it's
Um,
we're made to believe what people say. Again,
I
our
love that.
human psyche is made to believe what someone says. And I
Wow.
have a whole thing about where this all originates from, where manipulation is a coercive tactic, as a tactic of war, as a tactic of destruction
Right.
comes from, but we won't get into that. Hear that? I could talk about that for like 20 hours.
I know.
But that this idea that the manipulated person, the person who is harmed, is the one responsible for the behavior is what allows people to be so deeply, horrifically harmed, psychologically, physically, emotionally, because it makes you think if it's and often a lot of spirituality says if it's happening to you, you asked for it. If it's happening to you, then you must have some part in it, instead of no, the responsible party is the person doing the behavior, not the person the behavior is happening to, but the
Mm,
person who actually implements the behavior, the person who is intentionally and on purpose manipulating for gain, not the
mm,
person being manipulated. The person manipulating knows and understands this about psychology, and instead of using it in a benevolent way that would